fill a financial need. We've got to look at what Cirencester and the knock-on effect of the surrounding settlements of Cirencester, because it's not only in one area. There are villages that are concerned about this large development as well, and that's what I want to say.
Thank you very much. I too shall be brief. Listening very carefully to what I've heard this morning, and I as Councillor Theodore, do represent Fairford. First thing, I trusted Councillor Jenkins, it was a slip of the tongue when he said forget Fairford, because there are actually some valuable lessons for Chesterton within that. And as Councillor Theodore has already sort of articulated, we too have failings in sewage, water, we don't have work, and the roads are in pretty poor condition. Unfortunately, the planning inspector don't seem to take any notice of that, because they acknowledged that in their report and still came down and said, well, you can have more houses. The second point I would make is I'm concerned at the nature of all these debates in that it's divisive, because we are, as has just been said by Councillor Layton, it's one town saying we've had this, so somebody else has got to have that, and there's a risk in that happening here, because if Cirencester doesn't have developments under the current circumstances, it's going to have to go somewhere else, and wherever I go, the villages I speak to within my ward as well, they don't want massive amounts of houses. So it leaves me with a bit of a conundrum as to where you go with this. But one thing that strikes me that comes out of the inspector's report yesterday, and I did read it yesterday evening, was the reason she rejected our 5-year housing supply is because she said we did not have an objectively assessed housing need. In other words, we don't know how many houses we need to build in the Cotswolds. And if there is a criticism of this council, I think that we're this far into the development of the local plan, and we don't actually know how many houses we need to build. It's a pretty poor state of affairs. I was at Audit and Scrutiny last week, and we had the opportunity to look at the first quarter report for the council. And it appears that once again, we appear to be doing quite well financially. And if there's one thing I can urge the Cabinet to do, is to look at some of the money we've saved and throw some of it into making sure that we can get this housing figure assessed quickly and accurately, so we can get on with developing a plan and putting it in place. And that's all I'll say.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm throwing on the same song as the last two speakers, really, but I think we're here to represent the whole community of our district. Yeah. Not start saying all the margin, Cirencester, Tetra and everything. This is a full council, and we're here to represent the whole community. My biggest problem is, in the local plan, we adopted that, we set that local plan in 201. It was adopted in 206. Nothing was hardly done until it was running out in 2011. We've gone 3 years without forming that local plan. And until we've got that local plan in place, we'll be arguing evermore. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I will be even briefer. I think this is a much bigger problem, actually. I think that what we're faced with is a coalition government that's forcing councils up and down the country to build houses because that is their perceived objective, and they use sustainability as the whip for making sure that we concentrate on settlements that they feel are sustainable. My personal view, I was brought up in a village that had a community and a population of 150. It is not considered sustainable. I don't understand over here now, actually, but it just amazes me. The message I think that we need to get across is to this coalition government that if they're going to build houses, spread them around. Villages also need houses. I also feel that they need to consider what's happened to the northern towns. There are derelict houses in northern towns that are not being utilised because there is no employment. They should be looking at employment. And this council needs to push forward and aim our criticism at central government and ask them to look at their policies.
You're blaming other people.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Coleman, and I know you will be brief because you're
Chairman, I first of all want to say thank you to everybody who's contributed to this debate, particularly the petitioners who've given us this opportunity. To be honest, I could sit with this for another hour. This is so engaging and interesting. I want to thank Mr Hughes, who I thought was going to say something like that because I've always agreed with him. One little detail, it's not the coalition, it's the civil servants. Sustainability has been threatening villages for 20 years now, and I've been trying to raise this issue, and more people, and you know that you were joined recently by Princess Anne saying very much the same thing, why can't every village have some housing so they can start to live instead of becoming dead and dying in the countryside, which is not a great place to be when you're very old if there's no facilities. I think there's probably no easy answer, but I would point people towards Lord Taylor, that used to be Matthew Taylor, the MP for Truro, who's saying that people have a right to stand up for the communities in the way that Chesterton are doing, but we've got to have some new housing, and we probably need more than 6,900 in the Cotswolds, and that's not a nice thing to look forward to. We've been underbuilding across this country for the houses people need for far too long, and something's got to be done about it. I don't favour garden cities, but I'd be quite interested in some garden villages, and I hope that, for instance, the accidental development of Rissington might turn into something quite nice, and perhaps a little bigger than it is now. I'm very pleased that we heard from Morton and Fairford and others, because I did know those figures were bad. I am concerned that we're thinking, the words weren't used, but at the beginning of the meeting we were told about losing the Fairford appeal, and I think there might be a judicial review in somebody's minds. Please, in the interest of open government, can we have published to at least the members, even if it's confidential, how much we spent on the judicial review we lost in February before you decide, or don't decide, to have another one. Then at least we can know what we're doing with some of that spare money we've got in our pocket. But I don't think it's a party political issue. You can imagine this debate going on all over the country. We have to tackle it. The best way to tackle it is to start with having debates like this. And I hope we have another debate like this on a similar sort of set of issues in December. You know, I think it's just so good. It's councils at good work, and people have been really helpful to me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr Bradley, you now have 2 minutes to sum up, and we'll be followed by the leader with 2 minutes afterwards. Thank you very much.
Good morning once again. Well, thank you for the debate that I've heard, especially Councillor Jenkins. A lot of what he said I personally liked. I'm going to say this, that a couple of months ago at a JTP meeting I challenged Lord Bathurst face to face about the legacy he was leaving this town, because he's allowing this land to be made available to be built on. And I think it rather took him aback. My point is this: each and every one of you, and the Cabinet in this room, you have a legacy that you need to look after. You need to decide how it's going to go forward in the future. This is all about the numbers game. People are really shocked about the size of this development, 2,500. And I'll go back to what I originally said. You have the opportunity, each and every one of you and Cabinet, to rebuild the trust in demonstrating how you deal with the impact. I was rather disappointed to hear Councillor Parsons that it was deferred to Cabinet. You know, I agree with the Councillor there. Let's have more debate. That's what we need. We need to involve everybody, the public, everybody, all you guys, in a lively debate. Thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you for extending it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll try to sum up. We have 5 pages here at my notes of the debate, so thank you all for the contribution, and it's been very constructive. One or 2 thoughts occur. Listening to people, we do listen. 40%, you laugh, you see, it doesn't suit your project. 40% of people on our housing list state a first preference for Cirencester. We listen. We therefore need to build in Cirencester. That is understood. People say that we don't look at the unemployment issues, especially in Kings Hill. Employment issues. The fact is we have the lowest unemployment in the Cotswolds, the like, we have to live with it. We fully take on board all the issues about infrastructure, Thames water, etc. Someone in this room wrote an article in the paper the other day saying let's all wait until Thames water sorted out. Well, that's fine, and I agree. But put the whole thing on the back burner and do nothing until Thames water sort out the thing. We will never have a local plan. Now that is a perfectly proper way to do. There are councils who resisted having local plans because they didn't want to make decisions on difficult issues. And eventually, in the end, they get strategy imposed upon them through the inspectorate. But that is open to us. We can do that. But I don't think it's a sensible thing to do. We've seen what happens when we don't have a local plan is that we are more prone to speculation in areas that we don't wish to build. So it's a difficult job. I'm not saying that it's at all easy. We do listen. We are taking into account everything people have said today. I'm grateful to you for the petition. We have to stand defer to Cabinet. We cannot create a local plan in this council chamber because, as you've seen before, the papers we have the Cabinet, the local plan is a very complex issue, and we have to prove to the inspector that we have evidence for every policy that we put forward. Thank you. Yes, sorry, I'll formalise that as a proposal. First of all, to thank the petitioners for bringing it to our attention, and I propose that the matter be stand deferred to Cabinet for consideration as part of the next consultation process.
I will now put that proposition to the vote. All in favour of the petition being deferred to the Cabinet for further consideration in line with the consultation process.
Democracy in the Cotswold. Point of order, sir.
All those.
Point of order, sir. So Jim Parsons, I believe, left the room.
Thank you. Thank you very much for pointing that out.
That's all right.
All those against the proposition? Any abstentions? And with that petition now stands deferred to Cabinet. And thank you very much, Mr. Paddy, for your attendance this morning. I hope you may not agree with the decision, but hopefully you've seen the way it's been reached. And I would also like to thank the members of the public for curbing their enthusiasm. I know it's not easy, but thank you very much indeed. Thank you.